So, let me know when to start and I can start sharing.
Yeah, I
If
think
you give
we're,
somebody, yeah,
we're
like a couple of minutes.
we're over 20. So for the purpose of the recording, it's Friday, October 25th. And this is the 65th Kwaai Day meeting. Over to Myra.
And, for some people, 65 is retirement, but aren't we just starting?
We're just starting.
Yeah. So, today is an exciting one because we get to meet our new board of directors. And this is important to me and probably to the whole Kwaai community because the board of directors are the people that represent our community, that align with our values for what we're doing, and they're the ones who will be advocating for our mission to democratize AI. So, Reza, I think you might want to give some updates, and then I'm excited to meet the board.
Okay. And you're sharing your screen.
I am not, but thank you for
Okay.
that reminder.
There we go. Great. Well, my name's Riza Rasool. I'm chair of Kwaai. Kwaai is a movement, as you know, that we've all been part of for well over a year now, and we're reaching some fantastic milestones. I'll tell you more about what we've been up to in the last year for those that need a catch up. But we're excited to welcome our new board. We just concluded our board elections a couple of weeks ago, and this is the first time for you to actually get to speak to them. And we see them rolling in at the moment. I think we've got all of them on the call, so you should be able to get sort of 3 to 5 minutes from each one of them in order to find out what they're up to. Look, we're all here because we are compelled by a mission to democratize AI. Thank you so much. We're all volunteers. People are giving up their tired hours, their time between jobs. People are networking, but we're all bound to a cause to democratize AI. And the way we're doing it is not by writing whiny blogs. We are actually building something. We are engineering personal AI. This is AI that's going to be truly uplifting for humanity, not AI that's really corporate AI that is looking to extract another extra bit of profit from individuals. So imagine an AI, imagine a personal assistant that really helps uplift you, that is loyal to you, that's not eavesdropping and spying on you, but it's actually going to give you a 10x improvement, a superpower. It'll make you more efficient just in your day-to-day lives, dealing with your finances, your calendar, your communications, and so on. And the benefits from that will trickle up. It'll make you a more informed consumer. It'll make you a better worker. It'll make you a more engaged citizen. And all of those benefits will trickle up to the rest of the economy. I believe in that flow of wealth rather than the reverse. Trickle down has never happened and never will. And so we are now 650 strong. I'll show you some updates on the progress we've made over the last year, but I'm going to hand over to Myra to introduce each one of our board members and have them say a few words so the community can get to know who they are.
Right. So this is in alphabetical order. So we'll go ahead and start with Larry. Larry, hold on, why is this not, there we go. Larry, you were one of our Lightning Talk members, and recently, I am sharing your statement for the board of directors, and I'd just love to hear how you feel being part of it now and anything else you want to share.
Sure. Yeah, I've been involved in how technology essentially democratizes and transforms the media world for quite a long time. I think I started E Entertainment Television, which I think even to this day is the only global TV network that's been started by a person as opposed to a company. My friend Alan and I started that, and I think even to this day, it's still the only one ever where two kids from New York decided they were going to go against the big media world. E, if you don't know, is probably the biggest influence of pop culture in the world. We're in 142 countries, and everything from E Hollywood True Stories to Howard Stern, the Kardashians. But I've built media companies in Russia. I built media companies in China. We're the only Western company that's allowed to function as a media company in China, and we do literally everything. But with COVID, started doing stuff back here in the US again, and only taking on projects that have a social good component to them. So we did a series on financial wellness for millennials. I'm doing something on called Unconscious Parenting, which is trying to build a generation of better parents. So we have a generation of better kids. Another show called Uncanceled, late night talk show with a woman host called Natasha After Dark, and on and on. But more recently got into the podcast world doing something called Stall Talk, which is basically a women's empowerment thing. And throughout everything, I learned a lot about technology when I was primary consultant at Microsoft and Bill Gates and all that stuff. So I am an unusual animal in Hollywood in that my degree is in economics, but I'm a true creative and I understand technology better than most of my compatriots here in Hollywood. So been a big fan of AI. I teach Writers Guild people. I teach some of the over 50-year-olds there who have been discriminated, age discrimination. They've actually won a big lawsuit. Been teaching, older writers how to use AI to, they actually be more effective than younger writers who don't understand AI. So anyway, it's a passion of mine and happy to be part of the team.
Thanks so much, Larry.
Yeah, we're
Myra.
very excited to have you here, especially since after your last talk. And one of my other favorite speakers, Rika, very excited to have you on the board. Love to hear your thoughts and what you're doing these days.
Sure. Hi. I love how one of the pictures we have there is me looking very confused.
Oh, this one? Oh, you're open to interpretation, right?
Do you mind if I grab the screen because
Yeah,
I have
absolutely.
something that I share. So I actually am in Seattle SeaTac right now. So I'm waving to you, Reza. You probably can't see the wave that far, but I'm going to be speaking at the University of Washington today to a group of graduate students, women in STEM. So I was preparing some slides because they want to hear my story. So I actually put this together that I thought might help encapsulate a little bit. I was awarded under the innovation category for Forbes 50 over 50. So now I'm busted for being 50 years old and over. So as I was pulling this together, I thought it's not me that is receiving this recognition. It's really a culmination of my experiences. And so I pulled this together to do my own like NASCAR logo pop-up, but it's really about across my incredible opportunities and luck that I've had to be able to work with companies from NVIDIA to Accenture, American Express, and to be on the boards of companies, and now to have the opportunity to be on the board of Kwaai AI. And it's having been in this industry and at the forefront of a lot of leading edge emerging technologies that I had the great pleasure of meeting Reza several years ago. And I'm so dedicated to this arena that I continue to educate myself as much as possible and to write books. So kind of a Play-Doh machine, whatever I learn and kind of absorb, I try to then process out in another way, new way for people to be able to harness and understand. And I am excited to say that my dissertation was accepted for a dual master's that I was pursuing at the University of Leeds. It's a combined Master of Science in Environment and an MBA. It's a master's in sustainable business leadership. So I'll be in Manchester in December in a cap and gown, which I haven't worn forever, to accept that. But the reason why I wanted to join this and accepted very humbly the opportunity to be on this board is because I do think that this area of interoperability and open source and collective ability to bring great minds together and the community together to achieve new breakthroughs and harness some of the ways that we're going to move forward, particularly around this area of AI, which of course we all know has been around for much longer than a lot of people think, but we're entering a new era of how this is really going to transform the human experience in industries and business all around the world. So very excited to be here. I'm originally from Japan, so I hope that my background will also help bring some of a global lens to some of the ways that we think about things. My mother's German. That's the other piece around the global facet. So thank you very much. And I'm super excited to hear from my other board members newly elected this week and to meet many of you moving forward. Thanks.
Thanks so much.
Rika. I'll go back to sharing. Again, one of my favorites. Where did we go? Did I lose it? There we go. And it's Ruth. Ruth, who, oh, am I sharing the right screen? Yes.
Yeah, you are. That's right.
Ruth, the idea behind Penny and our other AI models. So Ruth, please take it away.
Oh, I'm just laughing at your photos. You cut my dad out of that one.
Well,
But-
I don't like to include like kids or, you know.
Kids or grandfathers. Yeah, hi.
Hi.
I would have preferred, like a lady. I thought I would prefer a ladies first approach after following those people, but that wouldn't have helped me because I'd have still had to go after Rika. I am.
Guys were earlier on in the alphabet, or else I was gonna have to say it was random and just put you and Rika first anyway.
But I think I'm kind of the outlier in this group because, when you're talking about your achievements in tech, that's not me. I'm the humanities person. And, we can clearly see why I've been with this project from its onset, because Riza was frustrated and you've heard his story about how he was not wanting to just sit and complain and whine about it, although he's quite good at that too. But he is actually motivated to do something about it. And I kind of followed along because I'm an educator. And so when you talk about democratizing AI or democratizing anything, the problem that we're facing in education, and maybe Ted can speak to this as he's sitting there in Tulsa, we have a duty to our students that is usually pretty clear. We understand how we're helping our students to be better humans. And sometimes the faculty get left out of that equation. So I've been working with Penny, thanks to all the tech people in my life. I've got this tool, this resource that is helping me help my students. And I'm becoming a bit of a thorn in the side of some of my colleagues because they are scared of technology in general, but particularly of AI, and they can see the problems with it in how it can be misused. But just like when we had to teach students how to Google things, before we would call it Googling things, when it wasn't a verb, we need to keep those guardrails in place and we need to steer students on the right path. And I think that Kwaai can help me do that for my students and can also help me do that for my colleagues, leading them kicking and screaming through this process of democratizing and personalizing AI. That's the bit that I'm most excited about.
Thank you, Ruth. And as you mentioned, I really love the fact that we do have somebody who's tech, AI, and from, especially the humanities section to
Yeah, I think
represent,
it,
because we're
like
not
all of us,
Yeah.
I'm sorry, we have a tendency to speak our own language in our fields. And then I'm the one that going, I'm sorry, can you explain that acronym usually?
Yeah.
So
We need,
yeah.
thank you. All right. And next we have from Kwaai, Sam Johnston.
All right.
Who's been
Sorry,
busy?
go on. All right. So I'm Sam Johnston. You may recognise my accent as Australian, but I'm coming here to you today from another one of the world's most livable cities than Melbourne, which is Vancouver. Having moved here in February, one of my career superpowers has been mobility. So I've started in Perth, studied in Sydney, moved to Dublin to work for Citrix, moved to France, set up a startup there, went to work for Google in Switzerland, then London, then back to Australia and up to Singapore, where I set up a venture studio, and now finally moved over to be closer to, but not quite in Silicon Valley. Same time zone and a flight away, and indeed I'm flying first thing tomorrow morning to the AI Summit in San Francisco. I am a student computer scientist. I studied computer science kind of before there was really dedicated class on AIs, although there was early discussions about it in the 90s. I date myself there as well a bit. I then went back and did a COVID MBA or an MBA during COVID. And I guess being a particularly slow learner, I'm now back at Georgia Tech doing a Master of Science, Computer Science in Machine Learning, leading the development of the Personal Artificial Intelligence Operating System, PyOS. And the big thing that I'm focusing on right now, which happily will wrap up a bit on Monday, is the definition of open source artificial intelligence, which is being pushed out, forced out, rammed out, if you like, by the steward of open source, the Open Source Initiative on Monday. And so there's been a lot of discussions about that, and I've been working with Carsten Wade and stuff who's related to open source, who's related to Kwaai as well, to deal with that, because it is a precondition of personal AI. Without open source, there is no personal AI, or at least there's no personal AI that we can contribute to or participate in, because I kind of define it by the inverse in terms of what happens if we don't do it. And that is that all of your data gets sucked into your kind of preferred cloud, be it Amazon or Microsoft or Google, and you're stuck using Siri or Google Assistant or whatever it is. So we've really got to avoid that kind of giant sucking sound of these data vacuums and make sure that people maintain control over their data. And then one last point, touching on that diversity issue, one of the first classes I've done with my master's in machine learning is AI ethics and society. And I worked very hard on that. It was a very interesting topic. I got a very near perfect score on it. And one of the big learnings from it is around the importance of having a very diverse set of data to train these models on. For example, one of the justifications for this co-design process at the OSI was traveling while trans. And if you train an airport scanner and people press the button for man or woman, and you go through and things aren't in the right place, then the scanner goes off and you get extra attention, right? Similarly, if you're looking to prove a bank loan and you've trained it on the historical bank loans, knowing that there were entire zip codes that were redlined, where bank loans weren't issued, then the demographics from those zip codes, which tend to be BIPOC or other minorities, they won't be issued bank loans because they're not in the data set. And that's also why the availability of data is so important, and why we're really driving this discussion. We've created a venue at opensourcedefinition.org and discussions at discuss.opensourcedefinition.org, which I would encourage you to all join. And then to wrap up, fun fact, in my spare time, I happen to be a certified cave diver. So if anybody ever needs anything retrieved from a cave, I did that under the Mexican jungle in Tulum just prior to COVID. And I also am a certified Thai chef, which was because I got stuck on an island in Thailand during a typhoon and big storms a long time ago, and spent 6 days one-on-one with a 5-star chef doing 60 dishes of Thai food, and got a certificate. So There you go. If ever we have an event and we need some Thai food, then I'll happily contribute.
Gosh, thank you. Thank you, Sam. Excited to have you on the board as well. Next is Ted. Ted, we heard you had breakfast with Debbie last week, 2 weeks ago?
Yes, I did,
Yeah.
which was great. I was evacuating from Sarasota to go to Plantation, Florida, to get away from Hurricane Milton. Came back to Hurricane Milton, and the Anna Maria Island is a mess right now. We're doing a lot of volunteer work there when I go back in a couple days. But Debbie and I happened to see she was in Florida, and I wrote her and I went, I'm here, and she wrote me back, and so am I. So we went to the original Pancake House, which was more carbs than I needed, but a great conversation, and it was great to meet in person. It's really a thrill to be on the board. I want to say a couple of things. First of all, Sam, the water caves in Tulum are one of the most amazing things I've ever experienced. I went there a couple of years ago. I didn't know anything about it. Back to what Rita was saying, I think it was Rita that said, when Google became a verb, I always say to clients when they ask me, when will we know for a success? I go, when the name of the company is the verb, not the noun, you're successful. So it's great to be on the board. I've known Reza a long time. We worked together at Saya, and I'm impressed that he survived working with Rob Glazer for the amount of time that he did. What you're trying to achieve is phenomenal, and what we are trying to achieve. I'm here, like I said, at University of Tulsa, speaking all week on various issues around AI and entertainment. And I've been showing Kwaai at every session. I'll be showing Kwaai I'm in residence in Starbucks for 3 hours this afternoon. The students are good, but I have to tell you, if I didn't know I'd end up in the dean's office, I think I'd smack a couple of them on the head with a ruler. They're pretty much face down in their phones. It should be a no phone zone, no technology zone. But my superpower, to use Sam's term, is connecting people. I think I've been very good over the years about so-and-so, you should meet so-and-so because that's the person that you're looking for. This is the resource that we're looking for. Larry, I've been a big fan of Larry's for many years. He worked with a friend of mine, Lee Masters, years ago. Lee was there with you, correct, Larry?
Yeah, actually, I was the one who brought Lee in to run the day-to-day. So
yeah, right. I remember that. And I brought Lee in to go to work in Louisville in a radio station when he wanted to get out of Indianapolis.
yeah,
When he was in radio before he went to MTV. Anyway, between Larry and I think we have 100 years. This is my 50th year in music and technology. I started managing bands in high school. I managed Eric Carmen from the Raspberries. I managed his band in high school, and basically that became the rest of my life. And the intersection of entertainment and technology has been my sweet spot for the last 40 years. So Larry and I have a lot of friends in common, but we still need to have a meal together. I think that's all I should say right now, other than it's really interesting being here at University of Tulsa during homecoming weekend. It's slightly insane here in the student union.
That's awesome. Thank you, Ted. And I don't know if you can see the screen, but this is what I meant when I said you're going to see that picture again.
Yeah, it is here. It's been a great experience. I've got 3 students that I'm having separate meetings about their startup idea. And then basically holding, as people referred with me, holding court in the, quote, the largest Starbucks in Oklahoma. So thanks so much for having me. I'm honored to be among the people on the board and the whole organization. John Linack, really quickly, John Linack and I spoke the other day. I'm down in Sarasota, Bradenton, St. Petersburg area. He's in Asheville. Asheville's had an insane storm damage. I mean, we have to, as we're doing all these great things, we still have to think about the people around us that need our help. So don't forget about the people that are, really suffering right now with the hurricane, with the damage from Helene and Debbie and Milton. It was a triple punch. It was a hat trick that nobody needed.
And hopefully, the one that's due next week isn't going to be
I hope not.
field bypass. Yeah. But
I hope
thank
not.
you for-
I'm gonna mute before I start telling other stories.
Oh, we're very happy to have you on the board. Thank you, Ted. And then last but never least is our own Eunice. I don't think, oh, there you are. Eunice, hi.
Hi. So I'm not your favorite, I'm just last.
Well, the ladies usually are.
All right. Well, thanks for the intro and good morning, good afternoon, everyone. Really humbled to be part of the board. Great talent, great vision. And speaking of vision, I think AI, as once Kai Pham said, to me, it's a human rights issue. And we have to preserve the humanities' rights to leverage technology in a meaningful way. When I met Reza, I think I met him when he was conceiving this idea of democratizing AI. And to me, this newborn needed attention and support to be able to crawl before it can walk and later can run on its own. So my company, Arcus Nexus, dedicated a team to build some of the components of what Kwaai needed to demonstrate that personal AI is a thing and it deserves a chance. Our team is focused. It's the professional army, so to speak, which always performs better than a volunteer army. For what's in it for us is, yes, we're supporting a good cause, but we're also allowing our team to acquire the skills. Now, our AI team has a raison d'etre, a great cause that Kwaai has given it. And last but not least, I think over the next few months, Arcus involvement in supporting Kwaai really showcases the collaboration between nonprofit and the industry. And my intention is to reach out to my colleagues in the industry and try to expand the team so we have more companies and more volunteers involved in supporting Kwaai. A couple of sentences about my background. I'm the other African on the board. I'm originally from Morocco. I spent my first 25 years in Morocco and the last 26 years. I know the math doesn't add up. I'm only 30. But last 6 years here in San Diego, California, I was trained to be a financial analyst, but never worked a single day as a financial analyst. Been in technology my whole life. Worked extensively in the web hosting, telematics, telecommunication. Created a few companies in the consulting space, especially around CRM implementations, and spent the last 2 years as part of the nearshore development software development company. But again, humbled and excited to be part of the board. Thank you.
Thank you, Eunice. I'm glad you are here again for another term. And you are one of my favorite people. So always love working with you. So that's it. That's our board. Reza, do you have any statements, any remarks, any?
Yes, I'd like to thank the outgoing board. And the outgoing board, look, Matt Small was one of the first members to come and join, and he helped us make Kwaai what it is today. We are now a credible force. So Matt Small, Mike Rubin, Selena Lewis, Brittany DeVenter, they're all outgoing board members, and we're really grateful for their contribution, and we hope that they don't disappear but can still participate and provide us with guidance. I think we should, Myra, why don't you get us back on track and with the work group updates, and then maybe I'll talk again a bit more later on.
So I think we'll start with the PI assistant. If Balaji's on, would love to hear your progress this week and your team's progress. Or if Balaji's not on, is anyone from the team?
Yeah, I think I can give you the update.
Awesome.
Yeah, so this is Annie, and so far we have been working on integrate the changes that Sam and Robert have, and also Patricia have been doing. And right now we are happy because now like we have been working on that branch. So now we are including all the changes and all the features that they did. And also, yeah, we continue working also with one team member of us. It's Melanie, who's working with the DevOps parts to get ready the Pi assistant. And yeah, that's it from my side.
Thanks so much, Annie. Yeah, we're really close. We're really close to being able to deploy the beta. It's at that stage, and it has been for like the last couple of weeks, where the software engineers say, well, it works on my laptop. And then you've got a guy in a data center saying, hey, but how's it going to get from your laptop to being deployed in the data center? And so we're grateful for Arcus for pulling out all the stops and trying to get that last part of the hurdle complete, jump over that last hurdle. We're also grateful to iBridge for donating their GPU graphics processing unit data center that they've built, and donating that to us for the period of the beta. So that's a fantastic partnership between a nonprofit and industry. Who's up next?
Reza, is there any access to the alpha at all to just play with it, or is it still not?
No, you
not
can play
ready?
with it. Just go to the website and play with the one that's right on the website. If you click it, it'll
Right,
go
right.
to the screen, and
Okay, okay.
then download it to your heart's content.
Thank you.
Okay.
Yep. And
Great.
I can send that to you directly too, if you'd like. Yeah, so let's go to the Pi OS update, and it's Sam again.
All right. So with the Pi OS, we have been supporting the deployment in iBridge in terms of wherever we find ourselves on the critical path, we are assisting where, for example, the logins were a problem. We needed to do an email authentication, and so Robert set out to do that. Part of that was to introduce roles. So we introduced a flexible role-based access control and relationship-based access control system called Casbin, which is another open source project, which deals with things like, Sam has an assistant, and Sam also has a Google Drive, which has a folder, which has a document, and can the assistant access that document, right? And so relationship-based access control does that. So we've made some good architectural progress. Selim has been working on the collections. So we have implemented a pipeline where you can have documents coming in. They get chunked up into 1,000 characters. They then get converted into embeddings and stored in a vector store. So we've used abstract base classes for that. We've implemented a simple embedder class, for example, and then they would be pluggable and they would be plugged. You plug in Olama, for example, is what the assistant is using for embeddings, and Chroma is what the assistant is using for vector storage. But it could be that you instead use PG Vector for the storage, and maybe you use like OpenAI for the embeddings. Now, as I mentioned before as well, the main thing, I'm working 120% on this. The main thing that I have been putting my time into, though, and I'm just going to, if I can, show you this so you can dive in and have a look for yourselves. We have created a copy of the open source definition. When you're a pilot and you have an issue, you aviate, navigate, communicate, right? So the first thing we need to do is protect the open source definition. So we've created a place here for it on opensourcedefinition.org. And if anybody were to try and change that definition, then we would say, okay, this is the 1.9, this is what open source means. So if you want to create a new definition or redefine the old one, then refer back here. We've gone through the history and got all of the different drafts historically. We've put it into a repository, which is the open source way. We have some FAQs around it. There's your repository here. There's all the different versions. We're starting to collect proposals in a work in progress about things like, now it's not programmers, it's practitioners. So let's go in here and discuss that. And we have now an open environment that is analogous to the Open Source Initiative's own open environment, but that is heavily censored. So that's been the majority of the efforts in the past weeks. That definition will be going out on Monday at the All Things Open conference, the open source AI definition. And that fails in two directions, in both openness and completeness. So we need potentially to address that completeness issue explicitly, because the openness issue has been solved and has survived the test of time with the open source definition. The relevance of that is that it is a dependency. Without this, there just isn't really an opportunity to do personal AI, at least for us to participate in it. It ends up being owned by big tech. People like me start asking questions. Well, is this something that we want to put time into? Because it's we lose that incredibly powerful differentiator of open source and the transparency to look into a model, look at the data, identify any potential biases or backdoors. It's another big security issue. White House has just come out and said every aspect of national security is going to involve AI, and so they just can't be using black boxes for this stuff. Steve has gone out as well from OWASP and has raised awareness about the issue too. So anybody who does care not only about AI but also open source, I encourage you to jump in at discuss.opensourcedefinition.org and we'll go from there. All right.
Sam, I'd like to continue on that theme. This is critically important to us. It might not be obvious in the mind of the public the importance of open source. So I always use analogies that they can help them understand the relevance of it. Analogies like the term green or like the term organic. The public have placed a value on those terms. The organic movement is over a century old, but it became clear, it rose up into the public consciousness such that the government decided, okay, we need to protect this definition of what is organic because it's going into the food chain. Similarly, what is green? There's certification for green buildings. And so there is, within the tech world, there's this notion of open source. And it's the 4 freedoms that Sam can tell you about being able to contribute to the code and where the code is visible to everyone. What's happening now is large corporations are trying to tweak, they're trying to deform, they're trying to redefine what open source means so that they can smuggle in proprietary components that only they own and have control of. And this is what their redefinition of open source is for the purpose of OpenAI. And so when you're trying to figure out why are they doing this, well, just follow the money. And so big players want to have models created that they call open source, but really it's trained on proprietary data, like it's trained on all your chat data in Facebook. And so, look, this is something that we should not sleepwalk through this moment, because it's very difficult to turn it back. It's very difficult for a small voice like Kwaai. Yeah, we're 650 members, but we're a small voice. So we need to rally as many allies in this. And Sam, thanks so much for shining a light on this issue. It's super important. I connected you with Bruce Schneier. You'll see that email. He wants to come on next week and talk about open source AI. And so you should, in the week, you should align with him and make sure that he becomes an amplifier for this message. So thanks so much. Look, I want to
thank you, Reza, for supporting. I mean, as I see it, Kwaai provides a venue for the magic to happen, and this is one of the things where your support and so on of this really important issue has been incredibly helpful.
Sam, I was chatting with you, and I remember we said we've got nothing to lose because we don't have a paycheck that's at risk. We're in a volunteer organization and we're not being paid. We're unpaid volunteers. What the perpetrators of this redefinition have been doing is been attacking their critics and going to their employers and saying, hey, you know, you need to shut down your employee because they are criticizing what's going on in this very undemocratic process, an undemocratic process of negative votes. Gosh, from a social media network that famously doesn't have a dislike button, they've allowed negative votes in their so-called democratic process. So look, we probably spent a lot of time on this, and it's very important, and I recognize how important it is. Look, I'd like to share some updates with everybody. So let me just share, and Zoom takes my screen and puts it somewhere, and we'll find out where it went. Okay, so I believe I'm sharing this
You can see it.
screen. We can see it. Great. Okay. And so you can see, look, this is the traction we've achieved in the last year, just over a year. And yes, we started the movement. We've incorporated, we formed a board. We've now got a new board. We're up to 650 members. We launched a European, Middle East and Africa chapter, and we just got inbound inquiries for launching an Asia Pacific chapter. We'll probably do that in 2025. Your volunteer hours really amount to a lot. It allows us to move the ball forward. It allows us to build personal AI and build the underlying framework, the personal AI operating system, as well as the applications, the things we call abilities on top of AI, on top of the OS. When we look at the contribution, it's coming up to 50,000 hours of volunteer contribution. And this is data that we've taken out of Slack. So the Slack analytics, we can see how much people have contributed. About 80% of it is still in development of personal AI. So this is programming and working around the source code. Close on 40,000 hours has gone into that. The rest is split between research and policy. And when we ascribe a value, a fairly nominal value, to the hourly rate of individuals, we come up to about $7 million of in-kind contribution. So thank you all. Thanks very much. You should really be proud of that. And so we are planning to go to IIW, Internet Identity Workshop. It is in the Computer History Museum. Here you can see a picture from last year. It was actually this year. They have 2 workshops a year, so they have one in the spring and one in the fall. And this is a pano. So this guy with the hat here is actually sitting next to Ruth, and I did a kind of a 360. You can see Doc here on his phone, and it's an unconference. So you turn up there, and there's no agenda. There's no there's nothing, and you basically all sit around, and then on the first day you put your hand up and you say, I'd like to talk about this subject. And it's a fantastic gathering of folks. Sam, I look forward to seeing you there. I'm going to go see Doc's going to be there. Doc has the first day. He has the Monday, and that's called Project VRM. And Project VRM is the thing that has now become an IEEE standard. And it is one of the sort of references for what Kwaai has an ambition to achieve. So we'll report back more from that conference, but you'll find a lot of people in the identity space will be at that conference. Okay, so I'd like to reflect back on our summit that we had in 2024 in in the spring of 2024. It was in March. It was co-hosted with Scale. In fact, we took over their first day, programmed their AI track, and we brought along some amazing speakers. They gave us a small room that seated about 100, 150. We filled that room up, and we had some we filled the room up, and there were people in the corridor waiting for seats to become available for them to come and join. This year, Scale want us to take the first day again, but blow it up, and they're giving us the big hall. So thanks so much for the planning team. I'm looking for more helpers in the planning team to help with there's going to help with the logistics around event planning, but also to help with the hackathon. John Connors is a hackathon planner expert, so he's going to be helping there. We've got Debbie, who's an event planner. She's going to be helping, and then we've got Jim Chappell, who's an expert in Jim Chappell's an expert in business and running sales funnels. So he's taken on the job of actually raising the sponsors, selling sponsorship, because this time we're not going to be going cap in hand. This conference has a budget. And so we then go forward to the summer, and in June, we plan to have a conference in Venice, Italy. And so again, we are collaborating with an existing conference, Immersive AI, which is run by former CTO of AT&T. And he's got the venue where the Venice Film Festival is held. And he wants us to program the personal AI track. And so we might take a half day or a full day of that. And so this will be an opportunity for the EMEA chapter to showcase their agenda as well. But hey, if you want to, if you're going to be in Europe, this just let me know, and maybe you can participate here. But we're going to be putting out a call for speakers and looking for sponsors. And it's great to have a partner that's already doing this and allowing us to come along. So they saw the performance we did for Scale, and so they'd like us to do that as well, and for their conference. So thanks so much. I think we've got a few minutes, Myra. I'm going to stop sharing. We've got a few minutes maybe to hear from new member voices, and
yeah, feel free to pick on them, Rosa.
I'm going to pick on them. There are some new members. I was at a startup social in Santa Monica, and a few people I met there. I think they might be on the call. But look, if just put your hand up if you want to speak. I see a bunch here. I want to shout out for Brian Ragazzi, who's been working really hard. He's preparing a demo for IIW. Brian, can I put you on the spot to talk about it?
Okay. I was not prepared to.
Oh, you
say
don't
anything
need to be prepared. Just talk.
Yeah, we're just we're doing a very introductory level demo. There's a lot more that we can do, but in the time given, we're doing a basic demo on the potential of distributed computing for AI. So we're starting with just a distributed RAG pipeline. So what we're doing is, and with a privacy preserving RAG pipeline. So on your local machine, you have a bunch of documents and you encode them to embeddings that you then distribute to remote servers, so that when you decide to do a search, you communicate with those remote servers and get back results that are just the encodings, and actually they can be encrypted encodings, and then on your machine you match them back up to the original text to then be put into the prompt of the LLM. So we're doing semantic search at scale.
This is so important. I think this is one of the key pieces to making AI, personal AI, run locally. The problem that we have, the angst that we feel is about sharing our private data, but we don't have sufficient compute where we are here in order to process it all and crunch it all. And this helps solve that problem. Look, we don't have enough time to go into the detail of it, but it's the subject of a grant application that we filed already, and another one that we're preparing to file. And it's about reimagining AI, not an AI that lives in the clouds, but AI that runs at the edge, AI that runs in a peer-to-peer fabric and is distributed, and it's more of a digital public infrastructure. Cam, can you tell us some more?
Yeah, I was just going to add, I placed a
Here,
comment in the
because
chat.
I was about to say
um,
what you were chatting about.
what Brian was saying was what he described is essentially the technical foundation for the vision that Doc Searls has had for a decade or more around intent casting and the intention economy. And we feel like we are really the pioneers on that front. Some of the work that Doc is doing that you alluded to there, Riza, is the IEEE P7012. It's a machine readable privacy policy in terms of service, which is going to be the policy foundation put into software code for essentially agentic AI for agent to agent communication. And what Brian described is literally laying down the foundation and the first tracks to make all that happen. Of course, this is, pioneering territory. So there's a lot of test and learn that we have ahead of us. And we don't know that we're going to get it all right the first time, but with very sound principles of privacy preserving, identity respecting principles, all in open source as well. We feel like we've got, the best way to move forward for the mission.
And
Thanks so much.
Doc's vision is a cornerstone of the architecture of the plan at QuaiNet. I would be remiss if I didn't say, anyone who's interested in this stuff, please come join us in QuaiNet, especially if you're a developer, and especially if you don't have to be a distributed computing expert. Hopefully you will gain some expertise by working with us, but we need more people, especially developers.
So the first day at IIW, or the Monday, is Project VRM Day. It's free to go. So if you're in the Bay Area, you should go. Doc's book, it's worth getting. It's called The Intention Economy. Doc Searls. Doc couldn't be on the call today. I think he's actually driving up to the Bay Area. But look, if you want to educate yourself, Richard Witt's Reweaving the Web. It's worth getting. Forward by Doc Searls, and Kwaai gets a reasonable mention in here. Look, I was a previous speaker. Carl Meta was talking about. He gave me his book, and he signed the inside, Carl, and it's called AI for Digital Public Infrastructure. Actually, when I got the book, I thought, wow, he's talking about digital public infrastructure straight away, but it's not our vision of digital public infrastructure. He's talking about AI applied to existing digital public infrastructure rather than a fabric, a peer-to-peer fabric that is the place where you run your AI. There are a lot of hurdles to getting there, but that is a vision where we're going. I think almost the antithesis of the vision is this book here, Blitz Scaling, which is by Reid Hoffman and Chris Ye. Not the antithesis. This was must-read literature when I was an exec at Real Networks. But look, it talks about the steroids that businesses get placed under by VCs and by private equity firms, and the very short-term myopic view that they have to have. So all those companies that came out and said, hey, we're working on personal AI, go look at their websites now, and you'll see they've had to pivot to corporate AI. Their personal, even a company called personal.ai, on their webpage, it says, hey, how to make your team more productive. Hold on, that's not the personal AI that I thought it was going to be. That's a corporation trying to squeeze more profits out of their workers. Great. I mean, that's great. But that is the red ocean where everyone is going. And people are missing out on the huge opportunity that is personal AI, the opportunity of uplifting individuals with the technology and making their lives easier. That is a huge opportunity. But it's not an opportunity that's where private equity firms and VCs are steering their investments. They are going to where the money is now. And it's a red ocean. The wide blue sea that is truly personal AI is something that maybe only a nonprofit can engage in, because as a nonprofit, we don't have that angst, that near-term angst of trying to rush towards profits in the near term. Yes, we obviously have to make money to keep ourselves going, but we can play the long game. And thank you all so much for being along in this long game. We have the luxury of being able to indulge in a vision of what we think is the right thing to do, not the fiscally sensible thing to do for meeting your fiscal goals immediately. So we are being a bit irresponsible fiscally. We are donating our time freely. We are running up debts. We are not earning money because this is what we feel passionate about. Okay, I'm going to stop the rant. Thanks, Myra. Thanks for posting the after party link. Look, all of our links have changed because we've moved now. We've now got our own Kwaai Zoom account. We're grateful to the college for donating us a Zoom account, but we kind of used and abused that for a long. Okay, don't mention that. Okay, we used it 1 or 2 weeks. No, we've come off Google Meets and we've gone to Zoom, and so the following meeting is kind of an after party. It's where we drill into the topics that were raised in the call, but we also pick some other topics. So hope to see you on that one. But thank you all for joining, and thanks for all being part of this long game.
Thanks for that talk for the ages there as a really good rallying cry. And don't forget to go and jump on opensourcedefinition.org and jump into the discussion and share your vision for open source there as well.
And Reza, use me as you need me to get people to come to the party.
Thanks so much.
Thanks, everyone.
Thanks all.
Have a good weekend.
Thanks all. Thanks all.
Happy Kwaai Day.
Have a great Kwaai Day. See you soon.
Yes, bye.
His hand up physically, so if he's in this next thing, I know.